another episode at 45 Auto versus 357 Magnum in full-size guns. What I want to talk about today is going to be kind of a two-part subject, but it's going to be kind of one and the same here. First part, the entire cost of the entire system. I mean, not just the firearms themselves, but also the ammunition that you got to get to shoot well, different accessories like magazines and speed loaders, etc., etc. What's the entire cost of the system when you want to get one of these and you want to practice with it, when you want to carry it? What costs are you going to get involved in? And I also want to talk a little bit about the maintenance, what one's easier to clean, you know, different various subjects when it comes to that. Now you look at these two guns and you say, well, those are kind of expensive guns, and they are kind of. The reason why I have these two particular is because these are guns that law enforcement used for a long time. The Smith & Wesson revolver throughout the 20th century, and by the way, I'm going to show this is unloaded, by far the most popular revolver out there. And even many departments carry this particular gun right here, the 4-inch 686. I mean, it's featured in a lot of movies where police officers have guns even. It's very, very popular among law enforcement. This particular gun, not widely used by law enforcement. My G21 is used by some departments, but by and large it's not an official law enforcement gun. But the Glock 21, which is very similar, was widely used by a lot of departments for their sidearms. So, you know, when I compare these two, it's going to be a little bit different than comparing other types of 45s versus 357. Now let's just take in general, what would these two cost here? Basically, the MSRP on this thing right here, I wrote down, it's $829 MSRP. The MSRP on this is $775, so it's pretty close. However, I didn't pay MSRP, and when you look at what I actually paid, the prices are a lot further apart than what you would think. Like this particular revolver, I bought it new, and I did pay $780. I paid almost retail for it. This gun here I've bought in never fired condition for even $500. So big difference on price of almost $300 difference. However, I did see this gun in the store for brand new for $625, as this is still selling for $780 or $800. So you're talking almost a $200 difference, brand new, even though the MSRPs are significantly different here. But I went and I took something more reasonable, and I just compared the prices on something that's a little bit lower cost brand. I compared Taurus's. I compared the Taurus PT 24/7 and 45 Auto. They don't really make that one anymore. It's kind of a discontinued firearm, but I took the MSRP price on that because I think it would be a fair comparison to compare it to the 4-inch Model 65 by Taurus. What you got there, you actually got a little bit more MSRP on that Auto. $523 for the Taurus PT 24/7, only $519 for the Model 65 by Taurus. So when you get into guns like this, there's a bigger difference in, there's a less difference in price than what there is when you compare like other types of pistols. Like if you were to compare like a Glock 380 versus, well, that's probably not the best example, but let's say if you're comparing smaller guns like a I don't know, some sort of Glock, let's say a 9mm, you compare it to like a low-end Smith & Wesson 637 or something like that. In that case, the revolver is a little bit less expensive, and if you flip it around the other way, you can get it go the other way very easily as well. Like you got a little small 357 stainless steel revolver, and you compared it to, let's say, LC9 by Ruger. Flip it around, there's big variances in price, but when you're talking 45 full size, 357 full size, very close in price. So you could go either way when it comes to that. Now we're talking about, you know, speed loaders and things like that, and spare magazines. Spare magazines for something like this particular gun, or pretty much any gun, you're going to talk $20, $30, maybe even more. Speed loaders, even $10. However, you know, you're not getting as much for your money when you get a speed loader. So I mean, that doesn't really count because, you know, you're not getting much here. That's why it costs less. You're getting a good piece of hardware here when you get a magazine. So that's really kind of negligible. Now another thing here is when you get a revolver, you do gotta get a good screwdriver set. I feel like you need to have something that's going to fit these screws appropriately, because you do want to take it apart from time to time. With the auto, not so much. I mean, you might have specific brand tools for that particular gun, like, you know, a magazine disassembly tool and whatnot. But for the most part, or like, you know, sight adjustment tools. But for the most part, you really don't have to buy anything for this. As where I feel it is mandatory, you do need to buy a good set of screwdrivers for a revolver, because you want to be able to take it apart. And the reason why is, for my other part of this video, is to clean it appropriately. You really can't clean it appropriately without a good set of screwdrivers. Okay, now we're going to get into probably the most significant part of this argument here, and that is the cost of ammo. And when you're talking about the cost of ammo, you're kind of dealing with two different things here, because in the 45, obviously, you can pretty much only shoot 45s in it. 357, you always have that option of shooting 38 specials. But does that really affect the price? And I went through some numbers here, looked at some different ammunition, and really, no, it doesn't affect the price that much. I went in Midway USA, and I just picked the lowest cost of 50 round boxes between 38 special, 357 Magnum, or 45, and I compared them. And really what you're looking at here, when I was looking at 45 auto, the cheapest 50 round boxes, and this was all on MidwayUSA.com, 50 round boxes of 45 auto, the cheapest I could get was Fiocchi, and it was $18.99. The cheapest I could get for a 50 round box of 357 Magnum was also Fiocchi. It was $20.49, so really only a difference of $1.50 between the cheapest 45 and the cheapest 357, with the 45 being cheaper. 45 auto, $18.99, $20.49 for this. However, 38 special was cheaper than both. I found MagTac for $16.99. So the thing is, between the two of them, what costs more in ammo? Usually 357 mag, but the 38 special, a little bit less expensive than 45 auto, but they're so close all together. 38 special, 357 mag, and 45 auto are really all very, very close in price. However, when you get into reloading your own ammunition, that's when everything kind of basically goes 100% in favor of the revolver. You're going to reload easier and cheaper for the revolver than what you are the auto, and there's just no two ways about it, because 38 special or 357 Magnum costs the same to reload. You always have your brass, you're not losing your brass, so you always got your brass, you always have a fully supported chamber, so your brass lasts a really long time, and you're buying, you know, oftentimes down, all the way down to 90 grain if you wanted to go that low in projectiles. And the gunpowder between the two is about the same, the primers are the same for cost. And with the 45, you got to pick up all that brass. In a gun like this, you have unsupported chamber, so you might have a little bit of issues with some of that brass there. And the big difference here, though, that also puts the 357 a little bit, you know, better in some aspects, is that when you go buy high-end defensive ammo, I've seen this a million times. Here's your 45, and here's your 357 mag. A lot of times they cost roughly the same. However, 9 times out of 10, when you get a box of 45, it's 20 rounds. 20 rounds. When you get a box of 357, which costs roughly the same, you get 25 rounds. So you get a little bit more ammo for the money. So overall, your bigger value in your defensive ammo is 357 Magnum. So that's where you're talking with that. Now, what else am I going to go on here? Basically, I'm going to get down into cleaning these things, maintenance. What one's easier to maintain? Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it. If you shoot both of these all the time, and your springs are exercised well, and you don't have problems with your springs and your magazines, this gun unloaded as well, by the way. Basically, there's just no way about it that when you want to get down to a deep clean, it's easier to do on the semi-automatic 45 than what it is on the revolver. However, if you're talking a quick scrub down, it's actually easier to do on the revolver. See, to clean the semi-automatic, you're going to have to take it apart no matter what to get it appropriately cleaned. You can appropriately clean this revolver simply by, opening it up, bracing the cylinder here, and scrubbing this out, scrubbing the cylinder chambers out. However, when you're talking about really getting down and cleaning these things the way they should be cleaned, and if you look at my revolver up close here, look at my forcing cone, okay? Look at my cylinder face. This is how I clean my stainless steel revolvers. And most revolvers and 357 nowadays are stainless steel. So you really want to clean all of the junk out that you see. And to clean it appropriately, you're going to have to get your screwdriver set out here. And you're going to have to find the right bit, and you're going to have to take it down to clean it appropriately. I'm just going to show you what I do real quick. I'm going to tell you about how long it takes me to clean this gun, how I consider appropriately. Now, if I just scrub these down really quick, I could clean this in 5 minutes, and I could clean this in maybe 6 or 7 minutes. But if I really took the time to clean these appropriately, having my hollow ground screwdriver bit here to take the screw out without marring it up, what I would do is I would take this thing down, take the cylinder out, and I'll show you why this needs to be cleaned appropriately. I cleaned mine well, but you see this yoke here, this is totally clean on mine. But if you took that off and it had just been fired, it'd be black. So right down in there, you really have to clean that out. But I would sit here and I would scrub this stuff off until it was clean. I'd scrub out the cylinder chambers appropriately. Let's see if you can see down my barrel at all. I keep this thing immaculate. And to clean it the way it is now probably takes, I spend probably 45 minutes. Okay. Now to clean the semi-automatic, the way I would consider it to be immaculate, and I would take it apart here. And I don't always clean my magazines, that's not something I worry about, but coming right in from the chamber with some solvent, a nice scrub brush, cleaning it all up in here real well with solvent, and then oiling it down to wash off the solvent, and getting in here, I like to, basically if I clean this really, really, really great, just taking my time, it took me about 15 minutes. A revolver took me 45 minutes to clean it immaculate. So overall clean time maintenance is definitely going to be higher with the revolver to clean it appropriately, but just quick scrub downs, it's the other way around. So that's what you're seeing a lot of times with 45 versus 357 and semi-automatic versus revolver. You're seeing, like, you have these trade-offs where one is a little bit easier and quicker and cheaper, but then you tweak it a little bit and then the other one's a little bit cheaper and easier. So really, you have a huge amount of trade-offs when you're talking about these two firearms. Now, if you're talking a 9mm pistol versus a 357 revolver, you wouldn't really have a lot of trade-offs. But we're getting the full-size 357 versus 45. One of the biggest trade-off comparisons I've ever seen is between these two. You got power, lots of stopping power in both of them, but you're trading off how you're doing it. Ammunition, you're trading it off a little bit, what it costs. And maintenance, you're trading it off. So overall, what's your total cost going to be? Well, pretty close. Really, if you're talking similar quality firearms, similar quality ammo, the time that it takes to clean it, depending on how you clean it, really quite even, to be honest. So it's kind of surprising, but that's my take on it. So if you're wondering what one's going to cost you less money, probably neither. You know, especially when you get into like 1911s, those are going to cost just as much, oftentimes. Probably more if you're talking like a Smith & Wesson 1911 versus a Smith & Wesson 686. With trade-off, you can get one cheaper of a different brand. So big trade-off between the two of these. So that's just my opinion. That's my rundown. And as always, thanks for watching.